finding meaning and purpose in every situation. So I can only talk for myself, and then I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And Baruch, also to jump in on this, the way I see something that I'm afraid of. I say, okay, this is just a temporary situation. This is only a temporary circumstance. What if I am to overcome this right here, right now? There has to be some kind of meaning and purpose. There has to be a reason why I would do it. That's how I face my fear. Well, what are your thoughts about that?
There's two books that, and I know we referenced this before we got on air. One of them being Viktor Frankl's work, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the book, but Man's
A
Search
man
for
search for
Meaning.
meaning.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was Where is God When It Hurts?
Mm.
And that's a book by Philip Yancey. And I read that many, many years ago. And he talks about in that book, which is Christian based. He's Christian based, but he talks about this idea of where is God when it hurts, and he talks about Hansen's disease, which is leprosy,
Mm.
and how one of the things in leprosy is that the pain network in the body doesn't work.
Mm.
People who have leprosy, and I don't know if it's all cases, but they don't know that something's hurting them. They've lost the ability to feel pain. And which is why you'll see many times they'll do things that are self-injurious because they don't know that they're injuring themselves. They would buy a pair of shoes that look great but are too tight, and they won't know they're too tight. The blood flow will get cut off, and eventually it could become gangrenous and have to be amputated. And what
Yeah.
he talks about is that there was a group of people who tried to duplicate or replicate the human pain network, and they just couldn't do it. They spent
Mm.
millions of dollars trying to do it, and they just couldn't do it. And the premise really is that pain is not something to be avoided at all cost. Pain is
Mm.
something to be paid attention to.
Mm.
And of course, Frankl's book about man's search for meaning, I read that, decades ago as well. And out of that, I developed a workshop I've done on the 12 steps, because I work a lot with people who are in 12-step programs. And we talk about the four bodies. There's the physical body, and what are the physical needs, air, water, food, and shelter in harsh climates, that type of thing. There's the intellectual body that needs stimulation and knowledge.
Mm.
Otherwise, it's one of the things that they say staves off dementia and Alzheimer's, is making use of our brain if we learn new skills and practice skills, which is why they recommend older people to do crossword puzzles and
Mm.
those types of things to keep yourself stimulated. There's the emotional body, where we need emotional safety, we need intimacy, emotional intimacy, we need community, we need validation and affirmation, and all
Mm.
sorts of other things to grow emotionally. And then there's the spiritual body, which needs meaning and purpose and transcendence.
Mm.
And that came directly out of my experience reading Frankl's book,
Wow.
that without meaning and purpose, it's very difficult to go through anything. And Nietzsche said something which I'm going to butcher because I'm not very good at quotes, but something about if you know the why, you can go through any how, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
That if I, and we assign our own meaning, there is no, the existential crisis, basically, and the existential pain is to find meaning in a seemingly meaningless existence.
Mm,
We decide that for ourselves. Nobody else decides that.
I love
Nobody
that.
else can actually really give us that, because unless we're willing to grab onto it, it won't have meaning for us.
Mm,
But I added transcendence to that because I think we need to transcend our individual selves. We need to connect and belong um, with something greater than us, whether that's a family, a religion, a community, a planet, whatever
mm,
it is, to
sure.
become part of something much larger also lends meaning and purpose to what we do. So I talk with my clients all the time about that and about finding that for themselves.
Wow.
Because I get asked the question a lot is why bother? What's the
Sure.
point? Those two questions.
Mm,
Why bother and what's the point? And I just say, well, you have to decide what the point is. You
right.
have to figure out why you're going to bother doing all this stuff, why you're going to bother going through all of this pain. If
Sure.
there was no meaning to it,